Alright, so again, in the background, not sponsored, just letting you know. Okay, so I've been having trouble with this recording. It's for some odd reason wouldn't work. When I was recording, it was actually doing okay. There was a little bit of bugs here and there, but when I got to editing, it was just nothing. So this is pretty much what I'm doing right now is talking about the new Spider-Man game and the current Spider-Man game. So you're going to see snippets of the Spider-Man, the PlayStation 4. No, this is not the new Spider-Man. Don't own it yet. I know I like to grab it for the PS5. Anywho, so we all know the story about Peter Parker. He is Spider-Man. We all love him dearly. There is some of his flaws and there's some of his background story. And the storyline obviously in the game is that this Peter Parker is going to die soon. I don't know when, but soon. And part of me wishes, I should say wish, that's kind of rude to say. Part of me is waiting for him to die. That's what I meant to say. Part of me is waiting for him to die. Now, I know the story of the new game of Miles Morales. I know the story. I know how it starts. I know where it happens in the middle. I know how it ends. I like the ending. Very touching, very clever. But I'm honestly wondering, is Spider-Man going to die? And how is he going to die? I know that's rude to say, but that's the whole point of Miles Morales as Spider-Man. His Peter Parker died. His Spider-Man died, and he took over. And the way they're doing the story is that this Spider-Man, this timeline, is that Miles Morales is getting trained. In the comic books, and even the TV show, and that Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse movie, all those have a connection where Miles Morales had to learn for himself. Okay, yes, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, he had some help, but the majority of them were trying to push him. They were trying to let him become Spider-Man because the majority of them never actually had help. And again, sorry for the background, sorry for my recording software just making everything glitch and decided to do snippets. Eventually it got better later on, but then my doing remote play started to not work because of my internet. I'm hoping that I will have better equipment later in life. I hope. Where was I? Oh yeah. So, Spider-Man in the original Spider-Man game for the original PlayStation 4, great storyline. Obviously, if you play the game, it starts to set up to where you get to play Miles, and you could tell that he's starting to become Spider-Man. Now, if this game was just based off of you get to see Miles Morales, but he never becomes Spider-Man, no one would like the game. That would be a huge disappointment in one of the games, in this Spider-Man game specifically, where you don't see Miles Morales becoming Spider-Man. That would have sucked. It would be annoying too. What else? Okay, yeah, back to the whole story. Yes, Peter Parker dies in Miles Morales' universe. So I'm curious how they're going to do the story and how is this Peter Parker going to die. Now, if they're true to the comics, if they're true to the whole premise of Miles Morales, Spider-Man's going to die. There's no question. You can't just make it like, oh, well, Sony and Disney have this arrangement. No. If they're true to their word, Spider-Man's going to die. Now, maybe not as brutal. Maybe be quick and clean. But he's going to die. And if some of you can't take it, oh well. My thought is that since in the original Spider-Man game, again, spoilers, if you don't want any spoilers, leave now. Or you should have left from the start. I might have spoiled something from the start, can't remember now, but leave. Dr. Octopus introduction in the way that Dr. Octopus is that he's one of the few people that know who Spider-Man really is. In the comic books, none of the villains know who he is, unless the villain's going to kill him because he figured out who Spider-Man really was. And then, like I said, Miles Morales came in. So I have a feeling Dr. Octopus is going to be the one who's killing Spider-Man. That's just my assumption. Is there going to be DLCs for Miles Morales? Maybe 1 or 2. Definitely not 3, although 3 would be nice. I don't know what exactly to say about this whole story of Spider-Man. If you read the comic books, Spider-Man's story is kind of dark. I mean, it's not like dark, but it has its moments where it could be very touching, where just like the game, Aunt May died. Just like the game, Aunt May died. And in the comic books, Aunt May had also died, and Spider-Man couldn't actually take the pain of the fact that he lost his aunt. He actually went to hell himself. No joke. He actually went to hell, talked to the devil. He had a different name, I don't remember, but he talked to the devil, and he asked to have his aunt back. Now, the devil was like asking him questions like, why do you deserve your aunt to be alive? Why does she need to live? What's the point? That was his question. Eventually, he pretty much told him that, oh, okay, fine, I'll give you this wish, but one catch. And the catch was that him and Mary Jane would never meet. Meaning he will lose... No, correction, he will never see Mary Jane. Mary Jane will be alive, but they'll act like they never met. Or at least she will never know who Peter Parker is. She will never know who Spider-Man is. And if he sets this deal, Aunt May will return. And he accepted it. And he told Mary Jane was gonna miss him even if she would never know who he really was. And then in the next page of the comic book, you see him and Aunt May hugging. And that story pretty much tells that him and Mary Jane never are together. At least from that story. Now, later on, they might meet each other again and make it back together. I don't know. I just remember that part. Have I read it? No. I went on YouTube. But, yeah, his story's kind of dark. And his premise with the Avengers, Fantastic Four, and in general, the entire Marvel Universe, he doesn't like going to the X-Men for help, partially because of the fact that he has, I wouldn't say beef, but he has common miscommunication with one of the groups to where he doesn't want to ask for help. No, it's not Deadpool. It's someone else. I just don't know who. And with Deadpool, obviously, is a different story. Sometimes they work together, but of course Deadpool's all about killing, and Spider-Man's not. So they always have that problem with the whole killing, not killing kind of a thing. In Miles Morales' story, see, this is one of the problems that I don't get about the whole multiverses. I mean, I get it, but when it comes with Spider-Man, and there's different Spider-Mans, where is the Hulk? Where is Iron Man? Especially in Miles Morales' multiverse, because all you see in Miles Morales is, well, in this case in the game, the Avengers Tower. But you don't see them. You just see the Avengers Tower. Cool that they added it, but it would be kind of cool to see Miles Morales and their version of the Hulk working together. Or their version of Thor. Unless it's the Avengers game, then I'm not all for it. I'm sorry, but the Avengers game was okay at first, but later on it was just dumb. That's just my personal opinion. Anywho, back to what I was trying to say. Sorry. Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that. Miles Morales' story, just like Spider-Man's story, is that Spider-Man, aka Peter Parker, Spider-Man, his uncle dies. And that's what makes him become Spider-Man. That's what made him grow. With Miles Morales' story, on the other hand, it's his dad. And that's what makes him grow and makes him become Spider-Man. It's his dad. What I thought in the Spider-Man to the Spider-Verse was clever was that they decided to make his uncle die instead of his dad. I thought was kind of clever in a way, because the whole uncle that Spider-Man has an uncle died, and Miles Morales is the only one that doesn't have an uncle that's dead. And of course, in the game for Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and Spider-Man, um, it's pretty much sticking to the comics where Miles Morales' dad dies, and so far that we know is his uncle dies, Peter Parker's uncle dies. Then that's obvious. We see if you do the collectibles, he talks about his uncle, and he talks about the fact that he's gone. And in this storyline, technically, if you think about it, Uncle Ben was technically his father figure because he didn't know his parents all too well. Hence why it was his Uncle Ben. So, in a way, both of their parents died. In a way. Now, I want you to leave in the comments to think, how is this storyline going to continue with the whole Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and Peter Parker working together, and this Spider-Man does not die. I'm sorry, but the whole point of Miles Morales is that their Peter Parker, their Spider-Man, is dead. I'm not trying to be mean. It's just a true fact about this Spider-Man. Now, I would like to your assumptions on how he would die. How is it going to turn out with whole Miles Morales, the fact that he lost his dad, and yes, he lost his friend. If you didn't want spoilers, you should have left. And if you found out, don't yell at me. And Peter Parker dying. That would be a really hard turnout for Miles, that 3 people that he knew all just died. That'd be one hell of a story. And that also makes sense why they wouldn't kill Peter Parker, because of that phenomenon. But yet again, that's the whole point of Miles Morales. Peter Parker needs to die. I'm not trying to be mean about it, it's just true. I know I'm repeating myself. It's a habit of mine. And my curiosity is, who is your favorite Spider-Man? Is it Spider-Ham, Gwen Stacy Spider-Man, or the Spider-Man that's in black and white? I think it's just called Spider-Man Noir. Is it Spider-Man Spider-Knight? I think that's his name. I mean, what is your favorite Spider-Man? Mine is Miles Morales. That's just my actual personal opinion. It's Miles Morales. He's always going to be my favorite. His powers are a lot more stronger than any other Spider-Man. He can go invisible. He can make electricity. And he's just all around technically one of the strongest Spider-Mans. It's Spider-Man Miles Morales had more training. He could honestly beat Peter Parker, just based on what he can do. Now Spider-Man 99, he's an upgraded version of the Spider-Man in a way. Now if you're telling me which one's stronger out of Miles Morales or him, I think they're a tie, only because the way that Spider-Man 99 works is the way that he climbs up walls is different, because he actually shows like claws, so he actually has to like make his way around to do certain things, compared to Spider-Man and Miles Morales, because they have these little tiny things which you don't really see. They're like really tiny. I think that's all I want to talk about the whole Spider-Man phenomenon. There's probably more to talk about later on. Maybe once I have better video quality. I am sorry about the video. I'm sorry about the fact that my loading and the recording is not working. Unless it was working this entire time, then shit, my bad. Sorry for the misinformation. But yeah, when I was trying to make this, it wouldn't work. Don't know why. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you enjoyed these last few minutes or seconds of the background. And yeah, come back to you guys later.